everyone and welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Dendrobium Phalaenopsis care, or specifically my experiences with the care and how I'm keeping them at the moment in order to successfully grow and bloom them. This isn't going to be how everyone keeps them, it's certainly not the only way to keep them, and maybe this doesn't apply to everybody, but I just wanted to share how I personally grow them and what works for me and my environment and the way I choose to grow them. And hopefully that can give you some information on the sort of care that they like. So initially, Dendrobium Phalaenopsis are quite a diverse range of hybrids because they have various kind of species parentage in them. I think their primary parentage is the Dendrobium bigibbum, but this isn't the only species that goes into the classic Dendrobium Phalaenopsis hybrids that we see in our collections. And according to this, they do have quite a diverse size and general kind of appearance. So you can get some very compact Dendrobium Phalaenopsis. This I think is the Polar Fire, and this is a no ID garden centre hybrid that I picked up, which is quite compact. And then behind it we have the Dendrobium Phalaenopsis Snow Jade, which is a really beautiful hybrid. That's quite a bit bigger. I don't mind the sunburn on the leaves, I did keep them outside for a bit over summer. And then behind we've got the biggest one that I own, which is the Banana Chocolate, which is spiking at the moment as well. And I kind of wanted to talk to you about these guys now because I've had them for over a year now. Last year I didn't do so well with them, and I think that this was a couple of factors. And because they weren't doing so well for me, I didn't give them so much attention, which is really, really bad to admit. But when something's doing well, I give it lots of attention, and when things aren't doing so well, I tend to try and just shuffle them to the back and hide them a little bit so they don't depress me too much, which is something that I'm definitely working on, in improving the ones that aren't doing so well, rather than just trying to ignore them. So these are my Denphals that are in bloom at the moment. You can obviously see one spiking. I have also had the Polar Fire in bloom. To start off with, I'll tell you a bit about why I think they didn't do so well the first year that I had them, and why they've done better this year, or why I think they've done better this year. So last year I had them in a much less bright location. They didn't have any direct light from windows. They didn't have any grow lights or anything like that. They were kind of just in a bit of a corner. And so obviously they are quite highlight orchids. They didn't really grow or bloom very well for me. This year I started off by putting them outside as soon as it was warm enough, which actually probably wasn't until June here in the UK, and they loved it. They really loved it. They took off. Just getting all of that extra bright light, I think, really helped them. So I have a little mini greenhouse that I put them in, so it wasn't like I was putting them directly outside. They probably came in August. You can see that I've got a little bit of a leaf burn on this one here, which I kind of caught before it got too severe, so it's just kind of bleached the leaf. It hasn't got to that black stage, but that hasn't returned in colour. Once the chlorophyll's gone, I don't think it can be replaced in burnt areas. The tissue is permanently damaged. And then a couple of months later they started spiking, so we're October now, so they probably started spiking sort of beginning of September. So these have spiked, although they grew outside for a couple of months, they've actually spiked under my Gemma LED grow lights. They're in my little orchid wardrobe, so they get no sunlight at all. It's purely grow lights, and they've done really well. I'm really happy with the progress, and I've got multiple directions of growth now. See, like 2 new growths on this one. This is actually blooming from one of the older growths. You can see it spiked last year. Oh, I think this was when I bought it in spike, and then it spiked this year as well. So yeah, they're doing really well. Another thing that I've changed with them is watering. So before I wasn't actually watering them properly. As you can see, they're in quite small pots compared to the actual sizes of the plants, and in this case we've got roots just kind of spilling over. They drain their reservoirs very fast. They're actually very thirsty, and I was probably letting them dry out far too much between waterings. So this year I've made a real conscious effort to keep up with the waterings, because dry lacquer and dry semi-hydro is actually probably worse than just organic media, because when lacquer is dry, what it tends to do is desiccate the roots, which is awful. So I've been a lot more responsible in my watering habits for them this year as well, and I think that in addition to the increased light has meant that I've been much more successful with them. So that's kind of my experiences with them so far, and obviously I'll update you once the Banana Chocolate has bloomed. It doesn't look like we've got too many buds there. 7 buds, but then we've got a little cluster at the top. So it could develop into quite a few more. They're quite big flowers on the banana chocolate, and the banana chocolate is the only real fragrant one that I have, so I am excited for that one to bloom. But as you can see, it's quite huge. I don't know how much bigger it can get because this is only its third pseudobulb. When I got it, it just had this pseudobulb here, just literally one pseudobulb, and it was actually blooming from that when I bought it from the garden centre. And it then created, obviously you can see the stages in growth, and this is the growth that it's put out this year, and it has bloomed from. So, or it will bloom from, hopefully. So these are all in semi-hydro with lacquer, so they're all in inorganic media, and I've had no problems with the adaptation to inorganic media. There's been no problems at all with them. They just take off. They seem to be very easy growers, and I'm beginning to really like them, and I think this is because they are growing better for me now. I need to stop being so fickle with my orchid likes, don't I? I'll give them all attention and like them all, and hopefully they'll all grow as well for me. Another thing that I would say is they do really enjoy hotter temperatures. They don't do so well in cooler temperatures. They are hot growing, even more so than Phalaenopsis or other types of Dendrobium, I would say. These guys grow really well when it's really hot, and they can take almost direct sunlight. You can see I managed to burn one of them, but other than that, they've all been in the same direct sunlight over summer, and then they've been under my very intense Gemma LED grow lights, and they really enjoy that. They need a lot of light and a lot of warmth in order to grow well, I believe. They don't do so well in cooler months. They don't really grow as much, so that's another thing to keep them warm. In winter, I haven't so far put them on heat mats. In semi-hydro, the root zone will obviously be cooler, so that is something that I'll need to watch out for. But this winter I'm going to try and keep my grow room that little bit hotter, because I have now got some species that really won't like the cold. So I'm going to make an effort to keep my grow room nice and warm for these guys, and hopefully they will continue to do as well. So that's kind of been my update on these guys and how I grow Dendrobium Phalaenopsis in the home environment. Obviously I did put them outside over summer, but I think that kind of triggered their growth. It didn't necessarily result in them blooming because they were only out for a couple of months really, between the end of June and beginning of August pretty much, and then it's cooled down and I couldn't really keep them outside anymore because it was getting too cool at night. So that's kind of how I'm caring for them at the moment. Another thing I would say about Denphals is that they are very forgiving of mistakes and quite easy to grow. So I think that these guys are a great next step for anyone who's tried Phalaenopsis and just wants to try something a little bit different. They don't require a winter rest. They aren't annually deciduous, so they're going to keep their leaves for quite a while before they lose the leaves on the older canes. And they're just a really nice forgiving orchid that has beautiful flushes of blooms. So I think that they are a great next step for beginners who want to try something different, and even for more experienced growers, because who doesn't want a nice forgiving easy growing orchid in their collection to distract them when their fussy orchids are playing up. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, then give it a like or subscribe to my channel for more regular orchid updates and care videos. And I will see you guys later. Bye!